returns, it's so much easier to read with early returns.
That's why I wouldn't really pull on that. I was like, it is possible to understand them already. I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to follow that.
Okay, Alessandro.
Wrong drugs, they're all like, they should all be
Yeah, I think we can start.
like trying to make an email. Abstraction, which is like super complex.
Should we start by talking about the next stable release?
Yeah, sure. So we are still working on it. We have a pull request up which changes most of the dependencies related CMake code we have there, separating again the back code from the CMake code. This time we have chosen a different approach. We are now converting all the libraries to CMake. Some of them, like for example, the AWS SDK were easy. The others were kind of less easy, but we managed to convert most of them, save for the OpenSSL library, which, at least for the time being, we prefer to use as it is. So we have built some kind of formula, formula-like system inside our new CMake code, which behaves kind of like the Brew system we were using before. We are now fixing the test. Stefano and Teddy are helping out quite a lot with this. So I think we are on track with the release date we announced before, which was the end of this month, August. In parallel, we also have the work that Teddy has started and Stefano is now looking into about the custom toolchain. Seems to be working fine now. We still have to integrate it with Osquery, but the tests that have been performed were positive. So the next missing pieces are mostly polishing what we have, trying to optimize the build time we have, or rather the configuration time we have, since all the libraries are now attached directly to the upstream Git repositories, and which means that we are cloning quite a big amount of source code right now. But we can certainly improve this by using shallow clones, while also trying not to clone what we don't need, especially Boost, which is huge. And what else? Yeah, we still have the signing issue. We have to talk about. I'm not sure if we are going to address this in the first stable release. I guess not.
If I recall, we were going to let Facebook manually sign it again.
Yeah, true.
It's not too much of a burden to do that on a monthly schedule, once every month, right?
Yeah. This is actually easier now because Nick from Facebook has actually updated the build script to use the new code we have.
So one question about sort of signing is who builds a binary, right? Like, so can we go to, cut 4002, whatever it is, right? We'll tag 4002, and then, will sort of Nick just build all the platforms and sign them, or will he take the builds that come out of our CI system? Have we decided yet?
We didn't talk about this yet. For the record, we do not yet have the signing case, so it may just be easier to have Nick build everything if he's fine with it.
I'm kind of cool with, like, I think until we generate our own signing keys, which I think will still probably be a couple releases away, just because I feel like we're all busy doing other things that are more important, right? Whatever Nick is willing to do is great.
Yeah.
I'm happy for, like, if they're willing to sign, awesome. And if that means they want to run the builds, cool. If they want to take a binary, cool. I mostly just want to mention that, like, I know they said they could do it for a little while, and I want to just kind of like think through some of that.
So we were working on deterministic builds. Has that progressed?
Yeah, so speaking about the third-party libraries, we have now committed the generated configuration files, which means that the build will most likely fail if something is not correct. So let's make an example. Some of the libraries we are using are capable of using either the XPath or libxml2 libraries for XML parsing. One mistake that happened on my machine was that I had XPath installed by mistake. So what was happening is that the library was building in the libxpath support by mistake without me noticing. Now that we have frozen all the configuration files, this can no longer happen and help us identify additional issues. Like, for example, some of the tables we have use the boost locale library, which depend on a library that we were not previously tracking, which is the libicu, which is now inside the list of dependencies we have converted. In addition to this, the custom toolchain that Teddy and Stefano are working on will allow us to go further in handling glibc the correct way, while also making sure that the config files we have generated are correct. We will regenerate them and make sure they are okay. So yeah, this will allow us to provide a release on all the supported Linux distributions.
And is this a thing that we're targeting for the end of August release?
Yeah. Most of the things are in place. We have to polish things. We didn't schedule this yet, but Teddy, Stefano, and I were supposed to meet and see what was the state of the branch and make a list of the things that are missing for the release. Everyone, of course, is invited when we actually schedule this.
So the question mark guarantees a retreat policy. Ready.
So what's next on the agenda?
I think it was mostly this, since we are all busy trying to meet the next milestone.
That was really the only agenda item people had. Maybe I'd sort of ask the usual question: is there anything we can do to help with this? Is it worth building? Like, I can build and test off of that branch. Is that worth my doing on Darwin, or is that sort of not exciting?
Yeah, I think it is worth testing it out. So previously, it wasn't really in a good state because it was building fine, but that was just my initial goal. I never actually ran it. And when we did, Stefano and I realized there were many errors. Stefano fixed many of the broken things there, and we can now actually test it. There are some tests that are still not passing, so don't expect it to be 100% stable. But yeah, I think it is worth testing it out if possible. One thing worth mentioning is that the new dependency system is currently only enabled on Linux. This is just a setting, but for now we didn't want to introduce things to Windows and macOS that will cause the stable release to make it harder to test, since we already have quite some stuff we are working on.
Is our plan to keep it Linux only for the August release, or do you think you want to expand that?
We will certainly expand this to the other platforms after the first release, but for now, yes, mostly due to time constraints.
Okay, and since we're sort of wondering about releases, we talked about the next upcoming release. I don't have its number in front of me. I'm sorry. Is primarily trying to just get a stable build with this tool chain out the door.
Yeah, sure.
The next release, we were going to try and pick up extensions again because extensions have kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, that's true. The reason we didn't look into extensions yet is because right now, even if we did import the new extension SDK inside the new CMake project, the user would not be able to generate a binary which can be run on any Linux distribution because we are still missing the custom toolchain.
No,
So,
I mean, yeah, it's fine to defer it. I sort of for the crowd, right?
yeah. I was, we're recording, just to point it out.
So I'm looking at the milestone page for 4.0.2. We have a couple of issues that don't have an assignee. Is it just, I assume we're working on them anyway, but there's something about dependencies not being position independent. Is that being resolved?
Let me take a look at it.
I believe that will come together with third-party libraries built from source, since we are able to be sure that all of them are built with position-independent code flag active.
Well, we said all but OpenSSL, right?
Yeah, but still, the OpenSSL library is still. It doesn't build with the CMake, the system, but we are trying to integrate it nicely so that all the settings that we require are inherited correctly by the project. And yeah, we didn't assign that issue, but we are actually working on it since all the new projects are inheriting the correct value.
We also had a sort of open. We moved the CMake versions to being Git derived, but we did not move the Buck ones to that. I suspect if we need to, we can always kind of push that forward, but it's just a thing to kind of be cognizant of. I'm not sure any of us are the main Buck users, so.
Yeah, this is true. It shouldn't be too hard to implement it. We can probably see if there's anyone willing to help us out with that, since our hands are mostly full right now.
I'm probably willing to do a little bit if anyone has enough Buck pointers for how to do that. I just don't really know how to. I don't know much Buck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is a nice to have for the stable release, but if it's not there, provided we will add it correctly later on, I think it is fine to skip it.
It looks like Grib is not here, but he had a assigned task for the Buck versioning.
Oh yeah, sorry, Grib wasn't able to join us.
I don't know why that's assigned to Grub. I suspect it shouldn't be.
Do we want to reassign that? I mean, it seems trivial.
Yeah, so
it seems trivial.
Buck should be similar to Bazel, which he may be using right now. I don't know.
I don't know why Grub was assigned. I think that was not intentional.
We should assign it to somebody who has the time. I think that should be straightforward and just need someone who is willing to try. Since the blocker on the milestone anyway.
Yeah.
Guess we don't have any volunteers.
It's not technically a blocker. It's just a nice to have.
Yeah, but I'm sure we can. I know that Felipe, for example, was willing to help us out with Buck. So I think we can just ask in the Osquery Slack for help with that.
Yeah, it's not really blocking us. It's more, I think, for Facebook, if they want to have the correct version, but they can still change it um, in the
Oh, yeah.
source code itself. Yeah, obviously the SHA will be different, but I don't know.
So if we build all of the release packages with CMake, then this probably is not a blocker at all, and we could just move it off the milestone or give it to Facebook to do or something.
I'd rather wait until we get closer to the release. Like if we get to the release, we should just punt it forward. But until then, I'd rather leave it right here as like a kind of reminder. I don't know. On the other hand, you do more project management than I do, so.
I suppose I'm looking at this pretty short list. I'm pretty excited to have the release go out. It doesn't have to go out, August 31st at midnight. It could do. We could, we could release the stable as soon as the other more important things are done, and then punt that one. That's just my impatience, I guess. So I'll let you guys decide.
I mean, I think you're right. Like as soon as the major toolchain work is done, then and like, we're happy with the testing, then we're good. We should cut the release. Like, and if that means manually updating the config file where Buck specifies the version, we'll manually update the config file where Buck specifies the version for the tag. So I guess as long as we do that when we cut the branch, I think it's cut the tag. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Actually, so while we're talking through these, there's a bug here about. I guess this is probably for the toolchain dependencies compiled with fpic and PIE. Does that mean anything to you, toolchain folks?
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
We are working it together with third-party libraries because it's dependent on building them from source.
So we basically get it for free once we convert the libraries to CMake, because we can just set up set a configuration setting in CMake.
So in our office hours notes, we have a sort of a review of recent activity. Is that something we'd like to go over here in the open chat?
Sure. I'm just been typing it all up. We've got a bunch of new tables and improvements. We have an iBridge table. So thank you, Charvel, for that. And Trail of Bits, Mossberg, helpfully improved the Windows certificate table. So that's pretty cool too. The mounts table apparently had a bug where it would cause file systems to get mounted. So that's been fixed. That's pretty cool. We've got better packaging scripts. So that's pretty cool. Buck will do packaging. We've got a bunch of testing that happened. Some sanitizers fixed some stuff. I know we enabled more tests. And OpenJDK now in there. And I merged us another regapps match function. And to be honest, the thing out of all of this that I'm most excited about is that the third-party PR is open.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of work from everyone. It's nice that the most exciting part is that we were all able to, collaborate into making this happen. So I'm really happy about it.
Yeah. So these accomplishments are going to go into like our release notes, I guess. There's kind of a document to be created there, I assume, or is that something on GitHub, or is it in the actual repo, or?
We have the foundation repository where we are now collecting all the meeting notes as a set of Markdown files.
Well, yes, the meeting notes, but when the release gets cut and there's a releases page and people go to download it, they'll see a list of things that are new, right?
So I think there are two things. So I think of what we're doing now is just kind of crediting and giving shout outs to people for doing work, because that's pretty cool. So that's a big thing. And then whenever we cut in GitHub, when you cut a tag, it sort of has somewhere where you can add, what's changed. Here's somewhere to type up release notes. I don't know if Osquery has ever been very rigorous about that in the past, and I have no idea if we will successfully be rigorous about it this time. I feel like it's. I don't even know. Like as an end user, do I want to read like 700 commit messages, or do I want to just know like, oh, cool, it's stable again? Like I don't even know. I don't know what
Well,
people want to see.
I think they want us. They want. Well, it's a potential for marketing the accomplishments of the project, and I know part of this release is bringing people back to this latest version of Osquery, and they should be incentivized to do so or encouraged with the highlights of the the team. So if there are things that it's basically like a why you should be running Osquery 4.0 or like why you should be excited, and it doesn't have to be commit messages. It could be very distilled from that. So maybe a paragraph of bullet points. But I think it'd be great to see that. So it wasn't just Osquery 4.0 and everyone's like, oh, is that the one I can run? Like they might still be wondering.
As an end user, I read all the commit messages.
Yeah, some of them like that.
Yeah, in fact, I would say even have both, or at least a mention about maybe a filter on GitHub that lets you see all what are the commits, the new commits since the last stable. So
GitHub will show you all the commits between releases. So like when you go to tag a new branch, it'll be like, here's everything. So there's like a clicky link.
Yeah.
I think probably if we want to write a change log or release notes, that's kind of just a to-do item that like someone should do it. Probably do it about when we cut the release, and we can like PR it and go through the standard vetting cycle on that.
I think the releases previously were helpful when like the table name changed or the API changed. So I think maybe good to have that info. Like I know like a couple of 3.0s and 2.0s had that when table names changed or column names changed.
Yeah, probably definitely a mention about the change in the tool chain and the third-party libraries, if something that can be possibly breaking or not. But also, achievement. Good achievements.
Yeah, for the very first release we made, it was really hard because we had this huge amount of commits from the experimental branch. So we weren't as good at sorting those changelog notes. But yeah, it is a good idea to try and do better from now on.
Or kind of preserve their template going forward.
Do you want to take a stab at like writing up a template for that and PRing it somewhere?
That would be nice.
Sure, I can pitch in. I might have to ping you on Slack, like what exactly happened, because I haven't been completely caught up. So I'll bother you guys.
I think you could take this in two directions, and they would both be valuable. One of them is to write up a like meta doc of like these are the areas that we might like to fill out in a change log in like a release announcement. Because like just a template of like breaking changes or like new tables or like I don't know, whatever. And then the other one is if you wanted to try and take a look at the commits that went in and actually distill a meaningful release message out of them, like that would also be cool. I think if you were excited to do either one of those or both, I fully support your efforts.
I'll take a stab at it. So when's the release date for this? End of August? Still on for it?
Sure, yeah.
I'll get something at least 80 to 90% covered by then.
Beautiful.
Yeah, having templates is so useful. I like them quite a lot, especially the issue ones.
Yeah, both of those things then. But I would love to hear about the next thing.
Since we have now officially moved to Markdown, I remember Seth teased us in making a static site on GitHub for this. That would be so cool.
What, for the website?
Yeah.
I can't understand our current website.
No, well, I mean, just for we can probably just host them on the foundation repo. How are they called? The GitHub pages.
Are you thinking, sorry, release notes?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was talking about the meeting notes.
Oh, meeting notes. That's where they are. They're all just they're in a directory. You can look at them.
Yeah.
And I think
That might be
GitHub
enough.
is a branch. Sorry. So, but yeah, I don't have an opinion either way.
They're mainly of interest to other developers, right?
Yeah.
Wait. Are we talking about release notes or meeting notes?
Meeting notes.
Meeting notes.
Yeah, the meeting notes are they're fine. They're easy to read. I mean, one thing I kind of want to do someday is like make a foundation website and think about. I'm taking a bunch of notes about like the foundation process and procedures and like the various things like what are all the places that we've had to add people and like we'll have to remove people and add new people and like what are the annual tasks we have to do? Like, do we have domain names? And I know Teddy's got some notes too that he's checked in. So there's like all of these processes and procedures that like we haven't written yet because we're still figuring them out. So I'm trying to keep a couple of running notes, and someday I'll check them all in. And maybe it'll look like a read the docs or website kind of thing. I don't really have anything useful to say, but it's like just a thing I'm trying to do slowly.
If folks want to add a foundation page to the website, I think that could be pretty nice to do. Just have a bit of basic information about what's going on. We could maybe reference office hours and that sort of thing, and link to where the meeting notes are stored. I'll be away for the next couple of weeks, but that's something that I could tackle when I get back. If folks are into that.
100%.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So then let's plan to do that. I'll be back around September 3rd.
Okay, I wrote that down, Zach. Thank you.
Yeah, just for making sure we understand correctly, we are going to release packages on GitHub only for now. At least we don't have access to repositories run by Facebook. We can try to ask them to upload the packages.
I think we should. Facebook's not here, so it's hard to say, right? Like we're kind of leaning on Facebook to sign things and push binaries around, and I think as long as we have a stable Git tag and binaries on GitHub, like we will already be in great shape. And I think there's a lot of like we have to fix the way we distribute binaries and the way we sign binaries, and as we get all of that done, it'll like smooth over a little bit, but I don't know. I don't feel super worried about like needing to get it for this release. Maybe I'm being very laissez-faire about it, but
no, I agree completely. Are we going to host the foundation website where the Osquery site is currently being served? Or should we use something else?
Are you talking about the thing Zach is probably going to do?
Yeah.
I assume Zach's going to just add a page to the current site that says, hey, we have a foundation and office hours.
Okay.
Go us.
Yeah, that would be my thought. Is we'll just add it as another menu item on osquery.io.
Nice.
Sounds great.
Yeah, then we don't. There's no additional ops or anything, and I think it's potentially of interest to anyone visiting the Osquery site. So I think that it makes most sense to leave it there.
Anyone else have anything they want to raise? Actually, I guess there is something. One of the things that's been kicking, given that this is like general OS query business, one of the email threads that we've been having in Foundation land is Read the Docs reached out to us and asked us what we want to do for an advertising model. So for context, the Osquery documentation is hosted on Read the Docs. Those documents have some ads on them, and there has been some discussion that there might be some vendors interested in advertising on the Osquery docs. The Read the Docs people reached out to us and said, hey, what do y'all want to do? And we asked some questions of them around what our options are, and we haven't heard anything yet. So we don't know anything, but I thought I'd update everyone.
And implied in that was that they're going to run ads regardless, but they were asking if we wanted to handpick them. Is that what I was hearing?
I don't know the answer to that. It's sort of a big open question to me. Today, so right now there are already ads on Read the Docs. They appear to be a mix of Upticks ads and Read the Docs ads. I know there have been some additional vendor queries about it. And Read the Docs said, hey, we have like a profit sharing model. Are you interested? Can you tell us what you want? Etc. And I kind of wrote back and said, I don't know, tell me what all of this means. And they haven't yet.
Yeah, so my impression is that the ads will run regardless, but it seems like they are interested in exploring having ads run more relevant and then doing some profit sharing.
Now, do they have to be paid ads, or can we put our own ads in there? And I ask because why not, tip the hat to Trail of Bits for putting all this, all this effort in by Stefano and Alessandro.
I mean, we could also just create an Osquery sponsored by thanks to site if we want to do that. We can do that.
There hasn't been any other momentum on the Open Collective investigation, has there? Open Collective, wasn't that the site that we were going to use for soliciting sponsors?
It was proposed, yeah.
So when we reached out to the Linux Foundation to understand how we could handle finances if we did something like this profit sharing agreement, they have their own funding management, open source funding management platform that they would like us to use. And it looks like that will be, if we did use that, it would be fee free for something like the first $5 or $10 million. And then after that, getting up to something like a few percent fee. So I think, it would be a while before we ever started paying any fees towards that. So, I think it's worth trying to get that going, and that's something that I started engaging with them on, but I won't be able to follow up on while I'm away over the next couple of weeks. But I think getting something started and then managing it through that platform could be good, and I think it probably makes things easiest for us working with the Linux Foundation. I think it also supports things like monthly and annual sponsorships and allowing us to distribute money in the ways that we feel are most beneficial. So I don't know what folks think about that.
I'll try and
let me see if I can send a link to that.
I'll try and pick that up while you're gone, Zach.
Cool, thank you, Seth. And in a second here, I'll paste in the link to that site so folks in the chat can get a chance to have an idea of what this is about.
Pretty sure Community Bridge are the same people who wrote Easy CLA.
I was recently looking at how to display a sponsored button, and the GitHub page links to a variety of these types of funding portals.
I think a question for us to sort of consider in this is whether is our goal to solicit funds or to thank people who are doing work? Because like Trail of Bits is putting up a lot of people right now, which is pretty awesome. So we're seeing a lot of really good progress. But that doesn't really translate very cleanly into like, oh yeah, if you go look at Community Bridge, it shows like a high donation from Trail of Bits. So like if our goal is to thank the people doing a lot, that's a little different than soliciting funding.
Yeah, they're different. I guess the sponsors get listed when they contribute monetarily. I don't know if there's a way to contribute in kind via these sites, like hours or issues solved or whatever. But I mean, Trail of Bits pushing on the release 4.0 is a short-term effort we're doing in order to unblock some of the work with our customers. Obviously, we're not going to have 3 or whatever engineers working on it long term, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can look. I think this is going to be an evolving effort, and it's going to take some time to get to whatever the model is really going to look like. But perhaps we can. I mean, just for temporarily. It's not temporarily, but I guess maybe in the release notes for 4.0, we can acknowledge all of the effort that Trail of Bits has put into this. And then moving forward, we can look at trying to get a sponsors section in the Osquery repo, which I think is a place that most people are going to look much more than they look at something like Community Bridge. And then we could have sections like who's making in-kind donations like that and who's making financial commitments directly to the project, and perhaps it will require some manual curation of that list on GitHub for a while, and we can look towards automating it more. But I think the reality is that I don't expect our volume of this sort of thing to be high enough that that's a big burden.
Anyone have anything else they want to bring up, or should we end this a couple minutes early?
One quick note regarding the CLA. I had to re-sign the CLA, and I noticed that DocuSign has a required field for mailing address. And I mean, I put it in, I'm okay with it, but if there's a way to do it without giving up more...
I think it is important for the legal team at Linux Foundation. For
no, so the reason I brought it up is previous CLA did not require it, and I think Google CLA doesn't require it.
I can tell you a small amount of things that I know. The CLA, the easy CLA thing was set up partly by the, sorry, let me step back further. I noticed the same thing, and when I chatted with the Linux Foundation people about it, I don't have a particularly good answer. When I asked them about that, they said roughly that they chatted with their lawyers, and this is what they, so they chatted with their lawyers. They don't believe CLAs have ever really been tested in court, and that this was what they thought they needed. I agree, it is more than I've seen in other CLAs. I think the Linux Foundation is taking a very conservative stance. In the last week, I saw Teddy raise that same question, and I haven't seen an answer come back out of that. I think he maybe asked it in Foundation or Core.
Yeah, they answered again that it's for litigation purposes, and then they will maybe talk about it in an OSS conference where the legal team will be there. Yeah, OSS in San Diego this week, and apparently one of their legal person will be there. Though, yeah, no, okay, Teddy could not be there, but probably someone from Facebook open source team. So we should be asking to Facebook or Teddy how.
I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a fabulous reason. I think it's Linux Foundation lawyers being conservative in risks. But I didn't push on this. It's not something that was important to me. So that's what I can report.
Yeah, that makes
One
sense.
thing we should look into, Seth, is I've noticed that you can actually skip adding your name and last name in the form and just sign with a nickname. I'm sure it is one thing we would like to allow. And I'm not sure if it is a bug in the form not requiring some of the fields.
I mean, I don't know how it could possibly verify that information. Like, ultimately, all we can say, like, unless we're contracting with third-party fraud prevention, there's nothing we can do to ensure that the things coming into us are by the people who said they are, who have, like, we're mostly saying, cool, this came to us and you said it was good.
Yeah, that is true. But at least requiring the user to enter the first name and last name would be nice.
I wonder if they entered a space. So if it's empty, probably they actually entered the space, and DocuSign do not block that as not filled up.
I don't know that, but you are required to sign a document, so I think you are legally bound to provide correct information if possible.
So at least this is something to report to them, to the Linux Foundation at least. Maybe we cannot do something directly, but they can have a look into it.
Yeah, they were really fast in looking into the issue I was having, so I'm confident they can help out.
I think that's the end of the meeting then.
Thank you all for the time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.